Hello again, Theorycraft. Today I'm bringing you another video about Outriders, and this is the first out of a series of videos centered around in-depth deep dive into the skill trees, the class skill trees for each class. This one would be for the Pyromancer, and I would be taking a look at all of the nodes that we can see from the demo, and maybe theorizing some possible builds for you to try on launch when we have access to 20 trade points in the end. So let's start with the Ash Breaker skill tree. First you have weapon damage increase 8%, then you have reduce immobilize skills cooldown, and there's three types of skills: immobilize, ignite and explosive. 3 ignite and 2 immobilize skills from the 8. Then there's weapon life leech, a weapon leech, that's how it's called. Basically you're healing while you're doing damage with your weapon. Then increase your weapon damage by 10% against marked enemies. And here's a major note: Assault Master, which is assault weapon damage, assault weapon drop chance, and assault weapons are assault rifle, light machine gun, SMG and double gun. Then there's armor piercing. Enemies inflicted with Ash receive 10% more damage. Increase your weapon damage by 10% against marked enemies. Here's activating your immobilize skill, increases your anomaly power by 45% for 10 seconds. And then if you go down here, there's increase your pistols and revolver damage, and the medium one that's in between those trees, armor melting, increase your armor piercing against marked enemies by 30%. Then if you move on here, increase your resistance piercing by 15%. So armor piercing and resistance piercing apparently are different in the game. So armor, I guess, is as it says, armor. And resistance is resistance maybe to some status effects and to anomaly power maybe. So maybe this is to weapon power and this is to anomaly power. I wish I could understand exactly how it is better. If I did read it somewhere, I would put it as text in the video at this moment so you would know. Ash afflicted on enemies was 15% longer. Increase your weapon damage by 10% against marked enemies. Increase your sniper weapon damage by 40%. Sniper weapons will drop 12% more often. Sniper weapons, marksman rifle, automatic sniper rifle and bolt action rifle. Then more armor piercing and more weapon damage. So far there's a lot of weapon damage stuff here. So obviously this is the weapon damage tree. This is the one that's more tanky with HP. And this is the one that's about anomaly power. So this is the one that's centered around immobilize, this is centered around ignite skills, and this is centered around explosive skills. So if we go here, we see increase your weapon leech again, then activating immobilize skills doubles weapon leech. So basically you can double your you can get your anomaly power up, you can get your weapon leech doubled. And you can do this as well. Every time Ash is afflicted on an enemy, vulnerable status is inflicted as well. Then this decreases the loading time, this increases the damage against elites, and they also do less damage to you. This is reduces the immobilize skills cooldown by 15%, which can stack with this for a total of 30%, which is pretty nice. And then enemies afflicted with Ash receive 30% more damage, which stacks with those 10%, so that's 40% more damage. And then activating immobilize skills increases your weapon damage by 60% for 10 seconds, which could stack with this 10% versus marked, this 10% versus marked, this 10% versus marked, and this 10% versus marked, and this 8%. So 68, then 78, 88, 98, 108, and then this one is 116% weapon damage, and that's excluding things like this, that doubles the weapon leech. So you can do weapon damage, you can do weapon leech, and you can just sustain yourself through that. So right now in the demo, the Pyromancer is not as great because it doesn't have the trade points, it doesn't have the skills that it needs to be as bulky as it can and as survivey as it can, but eventually there will be some interesting builds here. Incinerate, did we talk about the moment burn ends on an enemy inflict ash status? Ash afflicted on enemies lasts 50% longer. So let's move down to Firestorm. Firestorm, as I mentioned, is all about HP and it's centered around ignite skills. So you have HP, 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 HP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 10, 50% HP. Then you have cooldown to ignite skills, then there's skill leech and more skill leech, so 2 times 3 times skill leech for a total of 18%. There's more cooldowns for ignite skills, a total of 30%, just like here. Then we have meltdown, burn afflicted on enemies deals 20% more damage, and then another one here. So you can get 40% more damage from burn. So damage over time and survivability, damage over time and health. That's what this is about. These three. This increases your armor. This increases the weapon damage and anomaly power by 5%. And as we mentioned here, at the moment burn ends, inflict ash. And ash could last longer. So here, increase your anomaly power by 2.5% for each unlocked magma golem class node. So there would be specific nodes that would synergize with specific skills, and this is one of those, the magma golem skill. So all guns blazing increase weapon damage after any skill activation by 20% for 7 seconds, which is pretty decent. And some people might want to combine this with that skill tree, but as you only have 20 points, you have to be very careful how to spend them. Then we have over here activating ignite increases. Activating ignite skills increases your armor by 45% for 10 seconds. So here's the question: is that 45% gonna be additive to this 20 for a total of 65, or will it be multiplicative? So I'm wondering how that would be. I hope it's additive and not multiplicative, because that would be amazing. So this doubles the skill leech when under 30% HP. Just like we had this doubling weapon leech for 4 seconds, this one can double the skill leech. So with this one you're expected to use skills more than weapons. And enemies afflicted by burn receive 15% more damage. And here activating ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45% and resistance piercing by 45% for 10 seconds. So this is, yeah, as you can see, it's not as DPS-y as this, but it definitely provides you some great survivability. And this one, increase damage by 20% against enemies below 30% HP. Burn afflicted on enemies lasts 20% longer. Decrease all your skill cooldowns by 10%, which can stack with this 15 and 15, so you can get a total of 40% skill cooldown reduction. And this works for all. This is just for ignite. So you might wanna make a build where you're taking this 15, 15, and then this 10%. Where did it go? This 10%, which only requires 1, 2, 3, 4 points investment, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think the faster way to do it is 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Otherwise here you're putting extra point, but if you're going for a build here, it's only 2 points. If you're going for a build here, you really need to put 4 points. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's definitely nice to consider Wildfire as a additive skill to any build. Now let's move on to the Anomaly skill tree, Tempest. See, Anomaly power 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 6 Anomaly power. So 30% extra anomaly power just from those passives. Then we have increase your skill damage by 10% against marked enemies one time, and then another time, so up to 20% extra damage against marked enemies. And you can see skills mark damaged enemies for 15 seconds, so as long as you've hit an enemy with a skill, it's marked for 15 seconds. And if you kill the marked enemy, obviously you heal. Now we have explosive cooldown, which as I said can combine with this one, so 15, 15, 30%, and with this one 40%. Here we have activating explosive skills increases your weapon damage, so this is an anomaly power skill tree, but you can also get extra weapon damage, and you can maybe try and combine this extra weapon damage with this weapon damage and do 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4 by taking a build with this, and maybe by taking extra assault rifle damage and stuff like that. So over here we have increased weapon damage and anomaly power, which can stack with the 30 anomaly power we are getting, and another 5%, so we can get a total of 40% anomaly power just from some passive so far. Now there's a reduce release damage against you, and this one, burn afflicted on enemies, deals 20% more damage, which can stack very nicely with this, and with this for the duration. And now we have more skill leech, and then there's this thing, Master of Resistance, increase your resistance by 20%, which can go very well with this build here. If you can do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points deviation. Then there's this, increase your anomaly power as we mentioned, and now here we have Phoenix Nestling. This is, every class has one such second wind skill, as I like to call it, that is 180 seconds and can be reduced down to 135 seconds. It resurrects you at 50 and this resurrects you at 100%. So this is the best for solo players. If you're a solo player, in many builds you might want to consider going for this skill. Although it's a big deviation. If you're doing this skill tree, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8 points deviation, which is almost half of your trade points. So next we have killing a marked enemy heals you by additional 12% of your maximum HP. Then increase damage against elites by 10%, but it doesn't work in the same way here where elites deal less damage. So it's kind of interesting. I would have expected this to be at least 15% to make up for not giving you getting less damage done to you. And then this one, increase explosive skill base damage by 30%. And this base damage is a very interesting wording there. And there are two more notes I missed. This one, Inferno Bullets, that gives you 15% of your anomaly power as firepower. And then the other one, this one, that gives you 12% anomaly power for 10 seconds after activating an explosive skill. Now let's look at some theorycrafts. For example, this one has a lot of options and customizations for the final last point. But in general, I was focusing on making a Tempest build that is getting as much anomaly power as possible. That's why we go all the way up there in the first skill tree to get that note. And in the end, the last point you have to customize yourself. But I think it's a very interesting anomaly power based setup that you should maybe try when the game launches and you have all 20 trade points. And I only made one Tempest tree, but I made a few for the other trees. And next will be the Firestorm tree. I'm gonna show you the first setup. As you can see, this one is centered around using Ignite, Immobilize and Explosive skill, like the previous one. And there's customization for the last point, where you can spend that final point of the build. And this is more of a tanky setup. I tried taking Leech, and I tried taking resistances and other things like that, damage reduction and so on. So as you can see, I've included 3 points at the bottom to give us extra firepower and things like that, but optionally you might want to remove it. And I've also taken the extra cooldown from the middle. And now if we go to the next version of this with more weapon damage, you're gonna see we're going all the way down to the Tempest weapon damage. And this one doesn't have any suggestions for the last point. It is fully ironed out as a setup. And now if I go for a version That's again similar to this one, but with more anomaly power. That means we're going all the way up to Ash Breaker to get that passive for anomaly power. So if you want a more anomaly power centric instead of weapon damage centric, this is kind of my suggestion of how to do that one. And as you can see, the ability suggested here, instead of ignite immobilize explosive, we don't need the explosive anymore. And in the previous one, we didn't need the immobilize as much. But here the immobilize is a must-have to trigger the other one, and in the previous one with the weapon damage, the explosive was a must-have to trigger the weapon damage. Next, let's move to the Ash Breaker skill tree. And the first one I could suggest to you is this one. It's using explosive, immobilize, and any other one. It could be another explosive, another immobilize, or an ignite ability. But as you can see, we're taking a lot of things at the top, and at the bottom we're taking that extra weapon damage. So this is weapon damage all over, stacking as much weapon damage as we can, and weapon leech with weapon damage. So it's interesting. I didn't take that extra cooldown, but if we want another version of this one, with less weapon leech, this would be it, the version. So that one without the weapon leech at the top, you can see, allowed me to take that cooldown reduction. So those 2 points I put towards another more extra weapon damage and anomaly power, and getting that extra cooldown for all pyro skills. And next is another third version of this setup, where you have a customization of the last point. You can see I'm taking those 2 points that were before above for the weapon leech, or on the second setup for the cooldown, and then putting them down here for those 2 yellow nodes, and then the orange is the one of choice. You choose one or the other depending which one you think fits your needs more to your liking. So that kind of are my suggested Theorycrafts with 20 trade points. So when the game is out, you might want to try those on Pyromancer. The respecking is free, so there's not much to lose other than some of your time, which is still very precious. And I hope some of those end up becoming good for you. We don't know about all the items, and it's just Theorycrafts without telling you specific abilities and specific items. So obviously those eventually I might make into builds and rework a bit, and full-fledged builds with items and everything in mind. But if you wanted to have something to work towards while leveling when the game is out, this is my suggestion, and there's quite a few of those. To get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters, and all sorts of wooters like that, you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content update. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Theorycraft Wep on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Theorycraft. Until next time, and goodbye.